Hello, everybody. Welcome to the session STG 213, Motability Operations Unified Backup Strategy, where we discuss how Motability Operations got from a fragmented approach to the fortified state. My name is Sabit Venkatajalapati. I'm a senior solutions architect, part of the AWS Backup team. And what gives me immense pleasure is that I'm joined by a customer champion who actually have championed AWS Backup in their organization. I'm very happy to welcome Nick Rowe, who is the platform manager at Motability Operations in UK. What we're going to cover today is the journey that Motability Operations went through, where Nick will be taking us through what Motability Operations is, what the technical drivers and the challenges that they went through. And then later I'll come back to join Nick to discuss the journey and solution, wherein Nick will be taking us through the entire transformation approach and the milestones that the Motability Operations went through. And finally, we get to conclude and share some of the knowledge with you. And with that, I'll welcome Nick to take us through this journey. Now, over to you, Nick.
Right, thanks, Sabbath. So, who are Motability Operations? Well, simply, we provide simple, all-inclusive leasing for cars, for wheelchair, accessible vehicles, scooters and power chairs. We're keeping our customers on the move. The scale of our company is we have over 860,000 customers. Actually, it's more like 900,000 now. Importantly, because we're on a transition to green and EVs, we have 100,000 EV drivers as well. We have excellent customer service satisfaction scores between 9.4 and 10, over 1,500 employees based in London, Bristol and Edinburgh. And our vision is to deliver affordable, sustainable mobility for disabled people now and into the future. So we want to future-proof our scheme. So some of our core values, which we really adhere to at MO, we find solutions, we listen, we adapt, we solve problems together, we drive change, we lead the way in Motability innovation and sustainability, and most importantly for me, we care. We care about our customers, we care about our employees, the people who work for us as well. And this ethos is throughout all the things we do at MO. Moving on. So why immutable backups? Well, there's many things around that. With the ransomware and cyber attack, immutable backups are locked and protected, unlike traditional backups that can be compromised. There's compliance and audit readiness. Immutable storage meets regulatory compliance with guaranteed data retention and audit trails. There's also data integrity and recoverability. Every backup is pristine. We know its cadence. We know what's in it, and ensuring trusted system restoration. So you don't go through the whole trouble of backing up everything, and then when you go to recover it, you find, oh my God, it is corrupted. And most importantly, business continuity and resilience. It's reliable, rapid recovery, and it meets our business continuity goals. Some of the challenges and technical drivers why we embarked on this at MO is we needed a known good recovery state. We need to know that if we were attacked, that we had the ability to restore from a backup which we knew was clean, which we could just have every confidence in it. There was also a lot of cross-platform complexity in AWS. We've been with AWS since 2018, and our estate and footprint and platforms has grown and grown and grown across AWS. So if you like, we had many solutions using native AWS backup solutions, but across our entire estate. So they addressed that as well. And detection and response capability gaps. And that leads back to the same question of that known good state recovery. We needed forensic scanning, which that gives us that ability to know that it's a good backup. So we embarked on this project, which I've been working on for the last year with a team at MO. So we created some objectives. We had a Moscow requirements for a immutable ransomware-resilient recovery system. We went out to tender. We went to multiple SaaS service providers. We looked at many different products, but in the end, we decided the best way forward was to go with AWS and work with them in delivering this solution. So what are some of the key deliverables? Well, it's basically to deploy an immutable backup recovery system across all our AWS environments, and a complete handover to an operational team, and updated recovery runbooks, and importantly, testing that as well. One of the major sort of benefits is it enhances our security posture, reduces our business impact and cyber attacks as well. So it was all win-win for us, really. So this was what we call our transformational approach. So it was in 4 stages. We designed a workshop where we got our architects together. We've got AWS architects where we worked out how we're going to deploy this and do this. And most importantly, before we started building and really getting into the weeds of things, we did a POC just to make sure that what we were going to build was we could do it and it was cost effective, and all the ideas that would come up in our architectural principles held true as well. Then most importantly, we defined what MO services and technologies which were in scope. You don't need to do everything. Some things you could argue that the technology within AWS is so good that you don't necessarily need to have immutable, but we had many different opinions in our company as well, and in the end we figured that immutable was the best choice. And then we've been deploying this project for the last year across multiple platform teams in an agile approach with different milestones, etc. I'd like to hand that back to Sabbath now, and he can talk through how we partnered with AWS.
Thank you, Nick. So now that you've heard, the initial trigger for this project and then how Motability Operations started with this entire project, what we wanted to highlight is the fact that it was an entirely team effort. The team from AWS came together to work with the Motability engineering team to not just define the scope of the project, but to work with Motability Operations to exactly do a proper threat modeling to understand what is it that Motability Operations is wanting to achieve. And then obviously, like most of the endeavors within AWS and with our customers, we started working backwards from the end state. And that kind of defined this entire exercise of what exactly is the way forward. So we started with the joint development of the comprehensive protection requirements, which was the critical aspect of this entire project success, which laid the foundation for a long-term execution strategy. So once we defined the actual end state, it was much more easier for us to work backwards from the end state. What actually worked well then was defining this 3-2-1-0 strategy or the industry standard framework and get it adapted to Motability's requirements. So we actually had the opportunity to work with Motability engineers, the actual AWS account teams, and also the worldwide specialist organization from AWS. The 3-2-1-0 strategy is an industry-defined approach, but what we actually, as the combined team, did was to adapt this 3-2-1-0 strategy very specifically for Motability's requirements. The focus of this entire project was immutability, isolation, integrity, and high availability, which we call as the 3 defining pillars of a successful recovery strategy. And it just not happened as a one-off project kind of thing or one-off exercise. This was a continuous exercise wherein we monitored the success of the project, evaluated where we are continuously on the design and implementation, and then adapted the course of the action as and when required. The major highlight of this entire project was that it was completely tailored for Motability's requirement. So like I mentioned earlier, it was just about working backwards from what Motability wanted to achieve and then how they will be able to get to the business outcomes they were up to. So with that, I would invite Nick back to take us through the solution and how they went through this one.
Thanks, Sabbath. So our solution and the backup mechanisms first. So we had event-driven copy workflow. So we used the Event Bridge product to trigger a Lambda that successfully backed up replication and CloudWatch monitoring and retry logging. We had a CMK strategy. We spent a lot of time trying to work out how it would work with key management, etc. in this project. But we came up with a consistent CMK implementation across all platform intermediate vaults and manual management until automation deployment. And importantly, we had an IAM role separation as well. We had distinct roles defined for backup creation, management, and recovery with no overlapping user assignments. This is a solution. A cleverer person than me came up with this, so I won't go through the whole thing. But effectively, as you can see, we have a workload account, and then we have which goes to a centralized backup. We also have a forensic account, and this is where Elastio comes in. This is where we know that we've got a good recovery point, and an admin account as well, and then our recovery account, importantly, as well. So I'll go into the detail a little more. So our solution. So these were the backup tools built for us. This is what we did. So we had a centralized immutable backup vault, which is our tier 2, and that separates the vault per platform, and that's locked in compliance mode, separated by retention policies. And then we had an account level backup. There are tier 1 with them in intermediate as well, and that's used as Amazon managed keys. Intermediate vaults encrypted with CMK2, and there's one CMK2 per platform. Some of our platforms, so these are Motability specific platform names, AWS Native, Osmo, and NCW. And both tier 1 and the intermediate vaults are locked in governance mode. Then we had a backup workflow based on resource type as well, separate vaults per platform, again, locked in compliance mode, separated by retention policies. And then we had an event-driven copy workflow, separated vaults per platform, again, locked in compliance mode and separated by retention policies again. And then we have, for our CMK strategy, separate vaults again, locked in compliance, separate. So you can see compliance mode and retention policies and your key and certificate management policy are crucial to this solution. If you like, there's 3 pillars, if you like, of ransomware recovery. So immutability. Backup data is stored in an air-gapped environment that can't be accessed remotely. It's isolated. Backup data cannot be changed, detected, or tampered with. And crucially, integrity. Backup data is verified, clean, and uncompromised and recoverable. And we used Elastio for this. And a little bit more about the Elastio platform. So these are some of the services that that Elastio covers. So you've got, for example, you've got EC2, S3 buckets, AWS Backup, Guard Duty, EFS as well. It detects hidden data compromise. It's a machine learning driven engine which proactively scans backups or encryption and corruption, and it has a 99.99% detection accuracy. It ensures uncompromised recovery points, and there's no point doing this if, as I was saying earlier, if what you're going to back up has been compromised. It defeats the whole purpose. So we have confidence in that backup. It integrates seamlessly, and it has integrated seamlessly with our AWS accounts. It's been very, very easy to implement. So just a little bit about the project as well. So in January 2025, we started our technical planning. Then in February, we moved to a centralized AWS Backup account setup. And then in March, the forensic account and Elastio configuration. And now we've just been churning through. So the first couple we did was a bit challenging, and now it's like the sausage machine. We're just going through all our AWS accounts. Then we've got some pen testing and auditing in November, which has been done. There's a few findings, not many at all. And now low-level documentation and project closure, which was supposed to be December. Now it's pushed more to January, February, but we're getting there. I'll just hand back to you, Sabbath, for the conclusions.
Thank you, Nick. Hopefully, that was a good learning experience that you all can be excited about. So what really matters, like, what are we concluding with this one? So we had a very amazing partnership journey with Motability Operations in ensuring they could implement their data protection strategies at scale using AWS Backup. So if you're in a similar state, wanting to get through your journey of ensuring that you have got a proper recovery resilience strategy in place, we would recommend that you get started with a proper vision. Defining what exactly is the end state is the more critical aspect of this one. And then, like most of the projects that we work on, we would like to work backwards from this vision that you have set up. And that's where the AWS team is coming in handy for you. We work closely with our customers in helping them define not just the implied and the explicit requirements, but also the implied requirements, and ensuring we define the proper end state. And then it was much more easier for you to work backwards from this and make a high velocity two-way door decisions as much as possible, so that you could always adapt and configure your journey such a way that, like, you would be able to achieve your end state in a more secure and cost-effective way. Not just that, we would always recommend that customers utilize automation as much as possible. So some of the reference architectures that we mentioned here, there are blueprints available in terms of implementing forensic accounts, recovery accounts, or even your central cyber vault accounts and all these things. That includes all of your least privilege permissions that you can set up, including the defense in-depth strategies that you can go for. And obviously, like most of the customers, if you're embarking on a Gen AI or an AI-driven strategy, there's more opportunities for you to utilize the AI agents to automate most of the tasks as possible. Some of the examples that most of our customers embark on is to use the well-architected framework that is provided by AWS, and to look at the AWS Backup implementation, and then probably define where are the alignment mismatches, and then adapt accordingly. And we also have seen customers utilize AI agents at scale to automate some of the recovery aspects of it. So with that said, we would definitely like to improve upon the experience that we have provided to you. So if you have got any feedback on the session, and if you would like to probably reach out to us, there's always a feedback form that you can utilize, part of the reInvent app, and we are available for offline conversations. And thank you very much.